I liked Pilates a lot, but I never felt like I was getting enough. So, like I said, I was always doing more. And one of Sebastian's famous lines is, you don't need more time, you need more intensity. And I didn't know that. And so I quickly found that out, that I didn't need to do 5, 6 hours of Pilates a day.
Welcome to the Dean's List, engaging conversations at the intersection of entrepreneurship, artistic expression, and holistic health. Experience wellness in full color, where fashion, beauty, and art blend with body, mind, and soul. Embark on a journey that dresses your aspirations in style, paints your life with beauty, and sculpts your well-being in every dimension. This is the Dean's List, where inspiration is always in session. Welcome to the Dean's List, where we delve into the world of entrepreneurial innovation, creativity, and wellness. I'm your host, Allison Dean, and today we're flexing our mental muscles with Cathy Iliff, the powerhouse behind Core Strong Boise. Cathy has transformed the fitness scene by introducing the LaGree fitness method, where slow, controlled movements redefine the way we tone our bodies. But that's not all. She's also added, to my chagrin some days, the VersaClimber to her lineup, elevating workouts to new heights, literally. Join us as we uncover Cathy's inspiring journey, which showcases the power of perseverance and passion in sculpting a new era of fitness, one mindful movement at a time. Hello, Cathy.
Hi.
Welcome to the Dean's List. We're going to dig in, and I feel like the most obvious first question is really like just the journey that led you to launching this thing called Core Strong. Like, what inspired it? Like, how did you zoom in on the LaGree fitness method? Let's start there.
Well, it started off, I was a Pilates instructor, and I was instructing for about 5 years. I've been taking Pilates for years. So,
Okay.
So it started there. One weekend, I happened to be in San Francisco with my daughters, and we were shopping for my oldest daughter's wedding dress. And my youngest daughter was already doing LaGree. At the time, I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
I had heard rumors, and there weren't so many good, nice rumors going around in Pilates. So, trying to keep you away from LaGree. So, we found the dress, we were celebrating, and then my youngest daughter says, "Hey, Mom, you want to take this workout with me tonight?" And I said, "All right, yeah, let's do it. I've always wanted to try it. I might as well go." And so we hike up Knob Hill and already break a sweat before we even get there. I had no idea what I was in for, absolutely zero. We run in the door just in time to get on our machines and go. So no explanations, nothing. I figured I was fine. I already been doing Pilates all this time, so I had to know what I'm doing. And
Right.
So get on the machine, but unbeknownst to me, it's also on a ramp. So I'm at a studio called Core 40 in San Francisco, a very well-known studio. And so I'm on a ramp. Now the ramp, what it does is it starts elevating your megaformer upward. So within 30 seconds, I'm in a wheelbarrow, which is one of our signature moves. I just dripping sweat onto the platform. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? So I really couldn't tell you anything else about that class. It was just a complete whirlwind.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. But the thought never crossed my mind that I could open a studio. It just didn't occur to me.
Oh.
So 4 days later, my core was still sore. And I was stunned because I've been doing hours and hours and hours of Pilates every day. So I was just really shocked because I never got sore. I could never get myself sore. No matter how hard I worked out, I just couldn't get sore.
Okay.
So then it was about a month later, I went to see that same my youngest daughter.
Okay.
We lived in Sacramento at the time. And so she took me to her studio there that she goes to. Well, it was almost instantaneously. I walked in, 10 machines in a small studio. And all of a sudden it clicked. It was like, oh my gosh, I need to bring this to Boise. And took me a week to bring it up to my husband because he was thinking about retiring. So it wasn't like perfect timing for him. And I finally brought it up because I could not stop. The wheels kept going. I had to keep thinking. I just stopped. I thought of nothing else but doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And finally I talked to him and he says, all right, let's go talk with Sebastian LaGree and see what this is all about. I want to see some studios in LA. And so we did all that, and he was on board after that. So a year later, less than a year later, we had a studio open. So that's how it all started.
I love that so much. And it all started with a child. I love that too.
I know. Oh yeah. She and I, both of my girls, we like to work out a lot together. So
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you were doing more traditional Pilates, at that point, were you thinking that you wanted a studio, or was it only until you tried LaGree where you finally said, this is the studio for me?
Right. So honestly, I don't think I would have still been teaching Pilates. I didn't have any desire to open my own studio.
Okay.
I liked Pilates a lot, but I never felt like I was getting enough. So like I said, I was always doing more. And one of Sebastian's famous lines is, you don't need more time, you need more intensity. And I didn't know that. And so I quickly found that out, that I didn't need to do 5-6 hours of Pilates a day.
No.
So, yeah.
Okay. So the first class you took was on the ramp, which is like one of the most challenging of all of his workouts.
It's one of them. He also has, or he did have a machine called the Supra, which I also tried, which was on the ramp, but it also tilted from side to side. So I want you to imagine being in a scrambled eggs and your carriage is tilting the opposite way and you're doing your best to hang on because you don't want to fall off.
It's literally like a ride. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a 25-minute class because no one could do it longer than 25 minutes.
Yes, I think I remember that, because I think he opened up one in West Hollywood, or his West Hollywood one did have those. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, no.
I'll probably bring it back. But for right now, the Supra's been put away for a little while.
Yeah. I think it's only for like the super, pro. Yeah. Right. It's a hard workout. Okay. So, well, I think we just kind of said this, but LaGree is known for being kind of like the hardest workout that you'll ever love. So can you talk a little bit about like the core principles of LaGree, if people aren't already aware, and like what makes it so effective? And I guess, given all the information that you have related to LaGree, how you leverage all of it to incorporate it into your classes?
So there's so much to LaGree, and that's one of my favorite things about it. I could teach the same class to you all week long, but it would feel like a different class because there's so many different things that I can do with that class. So that's what I love about it. We say you never plateau in LaGree. Well, I never get bored in LaGree either. It's just the same. It's just so much. And every day I feel like I'm learning something else.
Yeah.
In LaGree, the main thing, I would say probably the number one thing, is your tempo. So unlike any other workout I've ever done, it's all done in very, very slow tempo. The slower, the better. Most times when you work out, I mean, I've never really even known about that I had slow twitch muscle fibers. So we have, fast twitch and slow twitch. And most workouts are geared towards your fast twitch. And, we need both. Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have both. But the slow twitch get neglected, and your slow twitch are your long lean muscles and your endurance muscles. And so just by building up your strength, you'll find that you go for a hike or you do something that you're used to, okay, I can make it 5 miles, but after that I'm done. Pretty soon you're doing 10 miles without any concern at all. Because your entire, that's the other thing about LaGree, that it works your entire body. So it retrains. Our bodies are geared to compensate for one part for another. And so LaGree retrains your entire body so that your shoulders aren't taken over when your core is supposed to be working, or your quads aren't taken over when your glutes and hamstrings are supposed to be working. Yeah. So you feel your entire body is really strong. It's not just certain parts of it.
Well said. Yeah. I mean, I recall I had a friend in LA who wasn't really like an avid workout kind of a person. And it was so noticeable after she had started her LaGree fitness journey. And she was
Mhm.
like, she was in her 50s, I think, at the time. So, like
Yeah.
she wasn't in her 20s.
Yeah.
She got so strong. I mean, she literally, it was noticeable because she's like a petite person,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
like you would see her in class and you're like, damn, like it was like a real transformation because you could just tell she was getting so much stronger. And I
Yeah.
do think that's what's super cool about the LaGree method in general is, well, one, it's definitely never boring, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like one of those things where I think to your point, you can do the same workout, but it will always be different just
Mhm.
because, I think also just like your mood and like, I mean, what you eat that day, who you talk to that day. I mean, everyone's headspace can affect, the quality of a workout that you have, the weather. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
there's so many things, right? So
Right.
yes, I agree. I think it's what's kept me, into LaGree all these years, is because it's efficient, right?
Mhm.
So it's like you can get in, get a really solid workout. You don't have to spend hours at the gym. Um,
Right.
and yeah, it's not boring because like so many workouts get so boring, Kathy.
Oh,
Like
terrible.
literally, like so
Yeah.
boring. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me started. Okay, anyway. All right. So recently, it was this year. I think it was this year, although it's a blur. It was this year that you launched VersaClimber, right? Or was it
It
last
was
year?
actually a year ago in September, so we've had it a year now. Yeah, I know, it goes fast.
I was like, I felt like maybe I took the first class this year. I don't know. All right. So, well, within the year, you introduced VersaClimber. So I
Mhm.
want to understand what prompted this addition to Core Strong. How does it complement the LaGree method in your opinion, but maybe
Mhm.
also Sebastian's? And then like, I don't know, any other unique benefits that you think it brings to the studio?
Um, okay, so we talked about fast twitch muscles and slow twitch muscles. So we have it covered with our slow twitch muscle fibers, and we're building our strength with LaGree.
Mm-hmm.
With the VersaClimber, um, we know that you need both, right? You need your cardio strength and your physical strength, and your muscle mass. So as you're everything to me right now, not, I suppose not everything, but a lot of my thought process is all about longevity
Mm,
and how can I encourage others so that when they get into their older years, they're not falling apart.
mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I noticed a lot with older people,
Mm-hmm.
um, is they cough a lot. They constantly cough because their lungs are not very strong and they have to cough to keep their lungs cleared.
Mm.
Um, and I would tell myself, I'm not doing that. That's not going to be me. I don't want to go there. And so then I was realizing how much and I've never been a cardio person. I've never really liked cardio. I think the treadmill is just dreadfully boring. And I'll do it if I'm in a hotel, but that's the only place I'd ever do it. Um, and so I'd gotten the opportunity to go to a few studios that had both the VersaClimber and the Megaformer.
Mm.
So I got to feel what it felt like. I mean, the first class, I was again, all right, we're doing it. So again, it took me a little while to convince my husband that this was the next phase we needed to do. Um, and it's obviously very much proven to be a success. So he once again is like, okay, I'll listen to you a little better next time. Um, but for me, what it's done for me, I've just been shocked with how addicting the VersaClimber is in addition to LaGree
Yeah.
because they're both very addicting workouts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Cardio strength, I'm stronger now than ever.
Mm-hmm.
I did a VO2 max test a while ago, and it came back that I was like, I don't know, I forget what it was. I'm like a half a point away from an elite athlete. And, I'm 64 years old. So it's like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, so it does wonders for just the cardio strength of it. But it also builds strength just like in LaGree. So they complement each other completely because they're both low impact, strength building, endurance building. They go hand in hand. It's a great workout.
I also think, at least for me, because I haven't done a pure Versa class yet. Like mentally like navigating that. But the combo classes where you start with the Versa and you end up on the Megaformer, I truly feel like it just kind of like maxes out your whole workout in a way, because I mean, I personally, I like to sweat when I work out. I know
Yeah.
that's like alarming for some people, but like, that's a testament to like how much I actually got to work out in, the level of sweat. And yeah, you're instantly sweating. So like after you go from Versa to the Megaformer, it's like it's on, you're like, okay, you're in it. As opposed to sometimes when you just start in a regular LaGree class, I mean, sure, you can keep like a sweatshirt on, but I feel like the Versa supercharges your workout. Like it has the capacity to do that, where it just like, I don't know, it makes everything kind of like run better when you're doing the Megaformer workout.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I still take a regular class, right? And it's still a great workout, but I have noticed like the days where I really want to, I guess, make it super difficult for myself, do the combo.
I'm gonna give you a little secret.
Okay.
And this, the clients don't even know this yet. So, starting in January, we're going to be doing a little flipping. So we're going to start with a VersaClimber and then go into start with the Megaformer and then go onto the Versa. I think it's going to be a huge change for clients, and a good one, because then they can focus more on their mega workout
first.
Because a lot of times you get off the VersaClimber and it's really hard to slow it down.
Yeah.
Your fast twitch muscles have been activated and it's really hard to focus on the Megaformer. So I found that starting with the Megaformer first, you get to focus on that portion of your class. You're still going to get sweaty.
Oh yeah.
But then you get on the Versa and everything's activated. Your core is warmed up. Your arms and legs are already warmed up.
Yep.
And you get on the Versa and you're in much better form on the Versa.
Yeah.
So that change is coming in 2025. Well, we're already working on it.
I think so, Cathy, this episode won't launch until January. So it's going to be like, it's going to literally line up with this new debut. So this is very exciting. It's like, you've heard it here. It's on. It's there. Okay, it's great. On. I love it. Yeah. Well, and actually it kind of reminds me of, like there are times where when I was a gym rat, where I would be, pumping iron and then I'd want to burn out on like the stair climber or something to just like really like, so to me, it's similar in that way, like just really kind of getting that cardio super boost right at the end, kind of like loosen everything. I'm into it. I think that sounds fun too. All right. Yeah. I look forward to it, Cathy. Yes, and I feel privileged that you let me in on a secret.
Okay. And I'm going to encourage you to get on that, get into a 30-minute Versa. I know so many people are so afraid of it. And honestly, the way we have it programmed now, that class flies by.
Fast. Well, I will say 15 minutes goes by pretty fast, right? So I was actually thinking in the last class that I took, I was like, I could probably do 30 minutes. I'm like, this 15 minute went by, right?
You can do it. I promise. I promise. Okay. It goes by fast.
I love it. Cathy said I could do it, so I can do it. All right. So one of the things that I think is interesting, is like how different studios obviously have a different process for writing routines. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting to kind of talk about that, because I've been to some studios where, the instructors can, kind of choose their own adventure. And it's actually, it's interesting in those studios, right? Because then you really start to have favorites, because obviously the quality of the routine can vary so dramatically between instructor to instructor, right?
Completely.
You do it differently, Cathy, and I think it's very interesting. So I want to talk a little bit about your process for that, because obviously it is different. I don't know. I mean, I think you've probably taken in more studios than I have, because I was definitely a Pilates Plus devotee for many, many, many years. Shout out to Christy. But you've taken in so many places that maybe what you do is actually more of the norm than anything else. But yeah, I think let's just talk about the writing process and how it's challenging, because there's so much to LaGree in terms of like how you navigate creating a perfect routine. So tell us your magic.
Well, as far as I know, I'm the only studio owner that puts themselves through all this. It's a lot of extra work. But I started this years ago, because when we first opened, opening in Boise, Idaho, we're the first studio in the whole state.
Right.
Nobody had a clue what LaGree Fitness was when we opened. So it really became obvious that we needed to, I had some instructors that would just push people so far beyond their capabilities. And then others that you felt like, oh, what did they just do? I've got to go home and work out. I mean, this wasn't enough.
Right.
So I didn't want that to happen. I wanted people to feel like it was a balance, but challenging, definitely challenging workout.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd realized that in a lot of studios, that especially if you go daily and you have different instructors, well, you might do a mega donkey kick 5 days in a row because they didn't know that someone else was teaching it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So by doing it the way we do it, I write all of our routines. All of the instructors teach that exact same routine all day long. So it's one and done. So that routine is that day. So we have muscle focus groups. So we might be focusing on inner thighs, which is stay away from those days. They're dreadful. Otherwise, like our center glutes, or we do a leg wrap. And so we cover everything. And it makes it more interesting, I think, for the clients, because they don't have to worry about if I'm coming in tomorrow and we're going to do another, skater or another, same thing I did yesterday. So it keeps me on my toes. I've got to make sure we're staying, very creative in our routines. It keeps the challenge that I find is the communication between me and the instructors to make sure they understand what I'm actually asking them to teach.
Okay.
If I put in a special variation or something, and they do have liberty to put in the variations they'd like to do. And I'm not so hard about everything, but it's just that I want to make sure that we're setting people up for success versus defeat.
Yeah.
And that's really where this whole mindset came from. It wasn't about me controlling anything. I that's the last thing I want.
Right.
But it was just about knowing what was being taught.
Yep.
And that we were doing it well. And I've had numerous clients come to me throughout the years that have said, oh, I went to another studio and I have to tell you, Core Strong is doing something really right, because this feels so much more organized here and more, so that made me feel good. It was like, okay, my hard work's paying off.
Yeah, no, and I feel like there's a lot to be said for what you just said in terms of keeping it interesting for each person, but also it's kind of like FOMO in a way. So like if someone comes in that, comes in on a Tuesday morning versus a Tuesday evening or something, right? They don't have to worry. They got the same workout, right? It's like you don't have to feel like, oh no, I didn't take that teacher. So that teacher's like, So I'm actually with you, just kind of keeping it all like all things equal and just ensuring that people know what to expect. I think that there's a lot to be said for that, actually, right? It's like just consistent quality. And I love that. Yeah, I love that. I think it's small. That's actually super interesting that you're the only one to do it, though. I didn't know that. That's actually wild to me.
I spend an awful lot of time writing routines. I watch a lot of LaGree on demand and LaGreeing at home, and I get a lot of inspiration from there. So that helps me a lot. It keeps me up to current with what's up to date also, because can't just fly into LA every other weekend or anything. No. So,
I feel like this is like, now I'm in my brain, I'm going, I really want to find the routine that I wrote when I went through LaGree training, like so many moons ago. Like I had to do the class with Sebastian too. Right. And I remember he even said like, that was a good routine, Allison. And I'm like, where is it? Where did I put that thing? Cause I remember I was so, like obsessed with the transitions being fluid, right? Like I was like, that was the part for me that I literally remember I was like, okay, that's not fluid enough. Like, so that was something for me where I was fixated on how do I make these things like just
you were before your time. You were before your time, because that's something now that's really come out. And faster transitions, heart rate stays up,
Right. There
So,
you go. Right. If you can do
yeah.
it like punchy. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about misconceptions. So are there misconceptions that people have about LaGree or about the Versa? And how do you address those, either in classes, in conversation, or in any of the marketing social
Yeah.
media stuff that you do?
Well, I would say one of the biggest misconceptions, and this is in any kind of a workout, not just LaGree, but people do look at LaGree and think, oh, this is so hard. Well, I hear this still to this day. Well, I have to get myself in shape before I come in. And I just start laughing. I'm like, you'll never be in shape. No one's in shape when they first start LaGree. You all start from the bottom.
Yeah.
Just come in.
Yep.
We'll take care of you from there. So that's a huge misconception because yes, it's a hard workout, but it's not so hard that you can't do it.
Right.
And at Core Strong, we have 3 different levels of classes. We actually have 4, but we have 3 that we mostly do. So we always encourage beginners to start with an essentials class. It's not an easy class. There is no such thing as easy in LaGree. There's not. It doesn't exist.
Right.
But we keep all the moves on the front, so they're not trying to get into the back and where the springs are working against you and all that. So it's definitely doable. Then we get into foundations where we mix it up. You get both. You get front and back. And then when you're in a classic strong class, a lot of it is on the back. And then if you're really daring, you're going to take a class with me. It's called Classic Extreme. And that's like over the top moves that I don't introduce to anybody but in this one class once a week. And I have my diehards for that one. So, but it's fun to watch yourself get to that point where your strength, you build strength and you can do all these different levels. I tell people all the time to keep switching it up, go to all 3 different levels. Why, just because you've mastered classic doesn't mean you shouldn't go back to essentials and get your form perfect, So, yeah. But that's kind of how we work with it. And I don't, and that's pretty much word of mouth in the studio during classes. We don't really do a lot of marketing. We don't really need to. So, yeah.
And then what about Versa? Any misconceptions with Versa that you've had to navigate?
You're a good example because you're terrified to do a 30-minute workout. Right. And it's funny because like a 30-minute Versa class, I think it's easier than the 15 because you're spread out. Like you're going to do 2 warm-up songs. So you're gradually getting your heart rate up. And before you know it, you're like, oh, look at that. Look where I am. I didn't even realize I was getting there. And the format that we're doing now is so phenomenal that literally I finished one class and I can't wait to take the next one. It's not like I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good for a week. I just can't wait for the next one. And it's all doable. It's a hit. It's like a hit workout. So you're getting your heart rate elevated and then it's coming back down a little bit and then you're elevating it again. And so it's not ever where you can't catch your breath, where you think you're going to throw up or anything like that. It's nothing that bad.
If it was, then that would be a problem. Yeah.
That would be a problem. So, it's kind of the misconception, I think, with the VersaClimber is that people are afraid they can't do it. And it's like, oh, yes, you can. It works just like the Megaformer. You can adjust. You don't have to do this, as fast as the instructor is saying, or you don't have to, we only have one song that has heavy resistance in it, but there's lots of things you can change. You can change your range of motion, just like in LaGree.
Yeah.
There's so many things you can change.
Yeah. I think also, back to what you were saying about the different levels in LaGree, I definitely agree with you that, it doesn't matter if you're advanced and can do one of the, more difficult levels. I love taking an essentials class. Like I love to just really hone in on the basics and like focus on form and just like, there's a lot to be said for that too, right? Like going a little slower or having like less of the more complicated moves and just really digging into those. So I'm all about it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a interesting one. How do you think social media has helped or hindered the promotion of positive body standards in like the fitness or wellness space? And then do you think Core Strong is like shaping any of those narratives?
Well, it would be nice to think we were. It's an interesting question because you can go to both sides. That was probably one of the hardest things about teaching Pilates. I'm not built like a dancer. And most Pilates instructors, at least at the time when I was teaching, were these tiny little things. And especially when I work out, I'm not going to be tiny. And I don't have any desire to be tiny. That's not my makeup. It's not who I am. I'd much rather be strong.
Yeah.
So that's one way of looking at things. My other thing that bothers me a lot with social media is that we're trying to make, I don't want to get into a whole discussion, but we're trying to make obesity look healthy, and it's not.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the wrong message.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be stick thin, but you need to be within a healthy weight. And so that's one of my things. I just disagree with that. I think we're doing people a disservice by making something look healthy, and it's let's tell the truth, it's not. Right. But my goal would be that we're not so focused on body image. Mm-hmm. My whole thing is what's my muscle mass? What's right. And where does it compare? Maybe where does it compare with my body fat? Yep. Is that coming down? Is my muscle mass going up? I mean, yep. Those are the things that are really good markers. It doesn't matter the rest. Right. We don't. I mean, we're the majority of us at Core Strong are women, yep. Whether we like it or not. We like to have more men come, and women. I've learned this as I've aged that you don't always have control over, especially once you've hit menopause. It's like, okay, what you thought you were, not quite there, and you have to let it go.
Yeah.
Not thinking of just not worrying about it anymore, but just let that go and find your other markers that are important to you. So strength and,
yes.
And worrying more about or being more concerned with, all right, am I entering into my later years and am I strong? Am I going to be without a walker when I'm 90 and, that kind of stuff. Amen. Those are the things that I focus on.
Yes. I think that makes sense to me. You also just brought in, it's in the lobby area. There's something that we can stand on, right? And that helps with what you just said, I think.
Yes. It's an in-body machine. So we did a challenge earlier this year, mm-hmm. and part of it was trying to show people that by adding the cardio into their workout, so doing a mixture of both LaGree and cardio, how your body mass changes. Mm-hmm. And so everybody got on it before the challenge, and then again at the end of the challenge. It was like actually it was several months. I think we did like a 2 or 3 month challenge. Okay. And it was really, really surprising for, I had one client sent me, they didn't have to, it was all private. Nobody had to see anything. If you wanted to share it with me, that was great. I had one client share with me, her results, and she was just blown away with how much strength she had built up.
Wow.
And so, and how much, how the numbers had changed. Yeah. So I like having that machine there. It's not necessarily, who cares about what the scale says? It does tell you how much you weigh, but it does give you some really good indicators about, your muscle mass and your strength from right to left. And right. It gives you a lot of good markers.
I think that is a powerful amenity to offer. Mm-hmm. Because you can't argue data. Right. Yeah. And I think it's helpful for people too, just to kind of see how their efforts are,
Exactly, because, it's funny because when we're doing all this, we're working really hard, we're getting our workouts in, we're on a good roll, and you feel different, obviously, on the inside, and probably your clothes might fit a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
but to actually see it in writing,
Mm-hmm.
showing you, okay, look, this is what's happening. And
Yeah.
that's pretty cool to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So,
To like
yeah.
validate everything.
Yes.
I think it's interesting to touch on the whole men doing LaGree thing. Obviously, Sebastian, the founder, the genius behind it all, is a man.
Hmm.
So it's come from the mind of a man.
Right.
But I think it's one of the most challenging workouts for a guy because so much of it is body weight,
Hmm.
dependent. I specifically remember there was a class I took, and there was like I think he was a bodybuilder. I mean, he was definitely like he was stacked everywhere,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
holy, I mean, his machine, Kathy, it literally looked like it had entered a water park. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it
Yeah.
was drenched, right?
Drenched.
And I
Yeah.
remember after class, I mean, he was looking and like kind of looking at all the women in the class going, okay, that kicked my ass just now, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe it's intimidating for some men only because there's a lot of women in the class, but
Yeah.
it's truly a fantastic, like the men that are in that class, I applaud them because they're getting their asses handed to them. I
Oh,
mean,
totally.
yeah.
Totally. And, it's funny because, and I'm sure other studios would relate to this. So most men,
Mhm.
not all, but most that come, it's really hard for them to move slow. That's the number one
Yes.
thing. They're so used to muscling through things, and you can't muscle through anything in LaGree if you're
Right.
going to truly do it right.
Right.
The other thing men like to do is just load on all the springs. They
Yeah.
want to put all of them on. Well, it also doesn't work that way. It's just kind of funny. It's like it's such a perfect mix. Like if you're a man and you weigh more, well, you already have more
Yeah.
on your carriage because you're heavier. So
Right.
you don't need to add more springs or
Mhm.
do anything else. And
Mhm.
again, if you take in on too many springs, you're just going to compensate with another part of your body that you're not supposed to even be working. So, getting them to that point where they're going to get the most benefit is a challenge for an
Mhm.
instructor. But there are some men that do catch on, and they catch on right away.
Yep.
And we've had some that have stuck around, but it's I know it's hard because the majority of class is female.
Yeah.
But the funny part is you brought up Sebastian. Well, Joseph Pilates
Yeah, that's true.
created
Right.
he created it for men. It was never created for women.
Oh, I didn't
Pilates
even
was
know that.
never meant to be for women until dancers started getting hurt, and they sent them up to work out with Joseph Pilates, and they came back so strong. So that's how it was. But I think women, we're used to doing group classes. We like the feel of a group class.
Yeah.
um, and then we don't have, well, we've had babies or whatever, so we know hard. We know what's hard in life, and we're willing to work for it.
Right.
So I think that, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, we love the men. So men,
yeah, we do,
try a
we
class.
do,
Try a class if you haven't. You'll get
yeah,
your butt kicked.
yeah,
Which was good. It's what you want when you're paying for a
yeah.
class. All right. So let's talk about challenges. So like maybe early challenges. Anything that comes to mind when you first established Core Strong? Like anything that you had to overcome or yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that became an opportunity, anything like that.
Yeah, well, it was a lot when we first started.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, we were the first LaGree studio, so
Yeah.
no one knew what in the world we were doing. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the other thing I realized, there were a trickling of other studios opening. Pure Bard opened a few years before us, um, but there still wasn't a lot. So I found with the people that were coming in, the hardest thing I had to do was convince them to that they needed to have a consistent workout
Oh,
because they in Boise, Idaho, there's so many outdoor things.
that's
So
right.
they felt like, well, if I go for a hike every week, that's my workout. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, well, how long do you want to be able to do those hikes? If you want to
No.
do hikes into your 70s and 80s and maybe even 90s, then you got to do this workout in order to be strong enough to keep it going. Otherwise, you'll stop hiking in your 60s because you can't do it.
Right. Right.
So, so it was a lot of convincing people to get out of their traditional thought process,
Yeah.
and seeing how, and we still have some clients that have been with us from the very day we opened. So that's pretty exciting.
Well, I think to your point too, given how outdoors oriented,
Hmm.
Idaho is, I think that is kind of the selling point, Cathy, is kind of like, well,
Exactly.
how much
Yeah.
do you really want to stay in the outdoors?
Yeah.
Because if you want to really stay, you gotta
You got to do
incorporate the
this.
LaGree method.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well,
Well,
yeah, I think also, a lot of people don't know Sebastian LaGree when like when you see LaGree method, you're like, I don't know what that is, right? It's like
yeah.
one of those
No.
things where you do have to lean into it a little bit, and then once you do the Wikipedia, you're like, oh, right, like
Oh,
these
yeah.
right. But
Yeah.
but yeah, up until then, there is that learning that needs to happen, the little bit of education, so people do understand what it is, what's the
Yes.
benefit, and the why. But I feel like because you were the first in Idaho, there's always a lot to be said for the first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We paved the road for the rest of them, and I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
um, yeah.
It's cool when you're the first. Okay, what about challenges with VersaClimber? Anything related to the Versa that you had to overcome?
Doesn't feel like that, because by the time we had the Versa classes open,
Kind of like,
um, it was a definite plus for clients. My whole goal was that you no longer needed a gym membership if you wanted to do cardio work too.
yeah,
You could just do everything right here.
yeah.
So
Success. Well done,
yeah,
Cathy.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like it's unfortunate if any of the machines go down, right? Like that's one of the things that's like that's a little
We did have some tough times in the beginning.
mhm.
The machines that the Versa climbers that we got were they're a brand new model, so and a whole new technology with them. So it
Okay.
was kind of a
Mm.
we were one of the first, and so there were some things that had to be corrected, and we did have we had some machines down, but they were so good about getting people out to fix them. Um,
Oh, that's good.
and we haven't had anything. Hopefully, I should knock on wood, but we haven't had anything in a long time. Um, so yeah,
That's good. It's good at least when there's like built-in like troubleshooting help or,
yeah,
like it's thank God it wasn't like a refrigerator or something or like,
yeah.
because I feel like I've heard horror stories with some of these appliances where people can't get a service
Oh,
for a while and you're like that's
yeah,
not no, like no.
no, yeah.
Um all right. I'm curious if any other like really cool like you've mentioned already one woman the strength really improved. It was obvious any other really interesting feedback that you've received from people related to their overall health and fitness or anything you've witnessed or anything that you're like that is so amazing that just comes to mind related to all your clientele?
Mm. Oh, the story, I could go on for hours on that. Yeah, I think that's what keeps me going every day, is to know that there are as many people. Literally, people tell me this all the time, that because of LaGree, it's changed their entire life, and I can't say how happy that makes me to know that. Um, I really do. I mean, I push it all the time. You talk to anybody that takes my classes, I'm constantly talking about longevity
Yeah.
and not cheating yourself now.
Hmm.
Push yourself hard. You should work really hard and make sure that you are set up, um, for when you're older. And I think a lot of people are really starting to think that way and pay attention to that. So, hopefully 20 years from now, I have some amazing stories to tell you. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and I being one of them, and I look at myself and just say, well, I'm the one. I'm walking ahead of everyone, and
Yeah.
so I want to show them that no, I don't need to slow down. I'm going to stay just as strong now as I 20 years from now. I hope to be just as strong.
I love that.
I just don't believe that you don't that it's not possible. I think it is absolutely possible.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think if you maintain strength,
Yeah,
I think that's a big piece of it as
yeah,
you get older, right?
yeah,
It's like, you have to really keep the muscle.
yeah,
But no, I'm
yeah,
with you, Cathy. I think you
yeah.
are a very good poster child of all of it,
Well,
right? It's like we will just follow you, Cathy, and we will be
yeah.
fine. If Cathy can do it, so can we.
That's
I
what
like
I
that.
think. If
Yeah.
I can do it, you can, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. There's no
Yeah,
excuses, right?
yeah.
Okay, so I would say wellness, holistic health, they're obviously very essential in fitness. So I ask this
Mhm.
to all my guests. What does wellness mean to you, Cathy?
Um, Wellness is a whole round of because you've got to stay mentally okay,
Yep.
physically okay, spiritually okay, um, and work on all of them. So I think the part that I love about LaGree so much is it's just as much mental as it is physical when I'm in my workout.
Yeah.
I got to make sure I'm paying attention.
Hmm.
And, and in a world where we're just bombarded with so much information, we're really getting used to just blocking stuff because we just can't take anything else on.
Yeah.
When you enter your LaGree class, you better be paying attention or you're going to be on the floor.
Yeah, that's right.
So, it's important, and it you can't believe how good that feels at the end of it, that you've taken that time and you had 45 minutes of almost like meditative state because you've been so focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Nothing else is going in or out. You're just focused on that.
Hmm.
Um, so I think wellness, that's what wellness is for me. It's and definitely taking time to make sure that you're consistent, not only with your workouts, but consistent with, um, I'd say at least once a day, something in your day, whether it's going and getting a coffee or spending 15 minutes reading a book or something that you're doing for yourself that it isn't for anyone else. It's
Hmm.
just you.
Yeah.
Because we spend our entire days just going as fast as we can to finish everything for everybody else. And then by the time we get done with the day, it's like, oh, I'm too tired to do anything.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so I think that's the number one thing is we've got to start giving ourselves a little bit of freedom to take a few minutes for ourselves.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so for you, do you have, besides working out, are there any like daily non-negotiable? So is there something or a list of things for you, Cathy, where if you don't do these things, the day probably isn't as great as it could be for you?
That's a really easy question to answer.
Okay.
I'm very much a morning person. There's a lot of days I wake up even as early as 4:30. If I
Wow.
wake up and I'm awake, I get up.
Okay.
Um, my one non-negotiable is my latte every morning.
Okay.
I have to sit and have my coffee. Depending on what time of year it is, now the fireplace is on, so I like to sit by the fire. Otherwise, I might be sitting outside if it's nice enough. Um, but I don't like to rush. My one thing, I don't want to rush through my coffee. So I'm going to enjoy my
Yes.
coffee. I might be working already,
Okay.
but I'm going to sit and enjoy my coffee. And my day does not go well when I don't get to do that. So
Okay. I thought you
that,
were going to say, unless I do a LaGree workout, my day, but I like the
oh,
latte.
well, the LaGree workout comes shortly after that, but yeah,
Latte, then LaGree. I like
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Latte, then LaGree. That makes sense to
yeah,
me. Okay.
yeah.
Um, okay. How do you see the fitness industry kind of evolving? Because I feel like there's so much that has come at all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually kind of wild how many new things have been
Yes.
introduced. I certainly tried a few things where I was like, why did I spend money on this?
Mhm.
So yeah, curious how you see things evolving, how you see LaGree and Versa evolving, and then like, is there anything that maybe we haven't heard of, or maybe we have that really excites you?
You've tried a lot of different workouts, as have I.
Yes.
Um, I tend to not do anything else now besides LaGree and VersaClimber,
Hmm.
mostly because I, I'm disappointed. It's not effective. So um, I haven't found anything else at all that comes close. So, and we want to spend our time wisely, right? Because
Yeah.
none of us are not busy these days. So it's got to be something that I can get in, get out, and be good. Um, so I haven't found anything else. So if you're looking for something else, I don't know of anything. With LaGree, the
Yeah.
part that I'm, so adamant about, I guess, is Sebastian is he's genius. So I just I never have to worry about if there's something to be discovered, he's going to figure it out.
True.
So his megaformers are a good example of that. So, and again, you're hearing this first before clients. He's come up with a new machine, and I saw it last March at the LaGree Summit they had in Las Vegas. I came home and immediately told my husband, we're getting new machines. And he's like, what? I said, yes, Sebastian says we need new machines. I've had these for almost 7 years now, and they're done, and it's time. So these new machines, and I've had them on order since last April. It's called a Mega Pro, and they're phenomenal. They have the front platform lifts, and the back platform lifts, and the carriage has two parts of it that can lift. So when you're in, say, like squats, for instance, heavy squats, you have two platforms lifted, so your feet are securely planted on the two sections. Your body alignment is perfection, and you immediately feel the intensity of it, just because your body is couldn't be in better position. So it adds a whole new. It'll be like learning all over again.
Wow.
So it's going to completely change our workout. Yeah. Now, unfortunately for us, the machines are, I don't know how far back order they are. So I haven't announced it yet because I didn't know when they were coming. Right. Hopefully in January, I'll have a little bit more idea. And, but I'm so excited about those machines. And he literally, his next thing that he's planning is the next megaformer will kind of look like a spaceship. It's going to be that sleek, and he's just constantly doing something. So I'm really pleased with these next ones. Those will last us a good 6 or 7 more years. So, it'll really, really change the whole thing.
And by then, in another 7 years, Cathy, we will literally be working out in space or something at this rate, right? Like we're going to be transported to an entirely different universe on your LaGree machine.
Exactly.
I like that. No, I mean I think Sebastian is quite the visionary, and he's always innovating himself. Like, it's just like, it's almost, you wonder sometimes how this man does all the things, because it's quite impressive the amount of models that he has created, right?
And I think because he still teaches classes.
Yeah. Right.
So he sees what other instructors are dealing with and how clients respond to certain moves or this and that. And he sees what needs to be changed. Yeah. So he's constantly changing for the better.
Yeah.
Which is great because, who wants to stay with the same machine for 25 years with no updates? I mean, in Pilates, they still have never updated their reformer. And that's 100 years, more than 100 years old now.
Yes. Yes, it is. I started doing traditional Pilates before I did LaGree. And it is even interesting now, if I were to take a regular Pilates class, I hate to say this out loud, it's just so boring to me. And I know that there's things that you can do to really, get yourself going, but there's just something so much more dynamic about the LaGree workout, right? Where I don't know, it just kind of keeps your attention the whole time in a different way. You have to be paying attention or else you'll be on your face. So, I mean, there is that too. It's definitely, it's dynamic. Well done. All right. So we're going to do a quick fire, Cathy. So this is the first thing that comes to mind. And then there's only a couple questions after this, but it's one of them you already kind of answered. But anyway, first thing that comes to mind, and that's all I can tell you. Okay. Early bird or night owl? You already said this one.
Okay. Yeah. Early bird.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. I like tea too. Yeah.
See, some people are like, I start with coffee and then I end with tea. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. What was the first paying job that you ever had?
Oh, first paying job. I think I was paid 75 cents an hour, and I was babysitting twin boys, the most wild, crazy kids you ever saw. I was probably 13 years old. So yeah, not making big bucks, but it was hard work.
Hey, so, I mean, it counts, Cathy. It was almost training you for owning a fitness studio in a way.
Pretty much. Yeah.
What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite cuisine?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say it's between Mexican and Thai.
Nice. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Do you have a favorite band or favorite music choice?
Ooh, huh. I can't say that I have a favorite band. EDM is usually what I go to listen to music.
Okay.
Um, uh, and I think that's why I like EDM because it's so varied. It's so many different artists and
So
different.
many.
It's yeah,
I love that. Are we going
yeah.
to see you at like what's that event for EDM that happens in Vegas?
No, you won't see me there.
Right. I was like, oh, Cathy. I want to see you
No,
there. I was like, let's see Cathy there. Okay, what's your favorite country that you've ever traveled to?
Portugal.
Cool. What's
Yeah.
the one app on your phone that you cannot live without?
Uh, my Mariana Tech.
Okay. Okay, that's fair.
That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's
Run the
what I run
business.
the business
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
live without that
Ma-
one.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What's the one word that you would use to describe your business journey?
Enlightening.
Enlightening. I like that. All
Enlightening.
right.
Yeah.
If you could have any entrepreneur as a mentor for a day, one day only, who would it be?
Hmm. Um, I'd probably choose Sebastian.
That's not a bad one. That's a good one. Yeah.
I mean, who could I get more knowledge from than that?
That's
You
right.
know?
Hey,
So
Sebastian, come on down for a full day. Yeah, I
yeah,
like it.
yeah,
I think you should do that anyway.
yeah.
What's a book that has significantly influenced your mindset?
I have one in mind, but I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, what's one thing about the book that you remember?
Well, it's kind of it just kind of reinforces how you're thinking. Um,
Okay.
that I think a lot of times we second guess ourselves all the time. So
Mm,
to reinforce that your thought processes are on target, kind of thing.
I like
Yeah,
that. All right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you can phone me back on that one.
Okay.
Besides your own, do you have another favorite small business?
Oh, I have lots of favorite small businesses.
Want
Yes.
you want to shout any out?
Oh, let's see. For facials, I love Bare Essentials.
Okay.
Let's see what other ones. Massage.
Mm.
Absolute best is she actually works for Core Strong. Brianna from the studio. She does ashiatsu, I think is what it's
Oh.
pronounced.
Oh.
Where she walks on you
Oh.
done with her feet. It's
Where?
amazing. She's up at Men Bodywork,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, phenomenal,
Okay.
phenomenal, best massage ever.
I
So
feel like, well, now
yeah,
we all have like wellness things to do
yes.
from Cathy. Okay. Thanks, Cathy. If you could instantly acquire one new skill, what would it be?
Oh, um, having a better memory.
I love that. Okay, that's great. All right.
Yeah,
If you could time travel to any period in history, which era would you visit?
that's a good one too. I've always felt like the 1800s were
Okay.
probably my time.
Enticing. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you weren't doing Core Strong and Versa and all this stuff, what else would you be doing, do you think?
Well, I mean, I have 5 grandkids, so I do spend time with my grandkids, but I can't imagine doing that all the time. Um, I love them dearly, but not all, Um, I, it's funny because working out, it's something that I've realized about myself that it is part of me and I need to do it in order to be me for the day.
Yeah.
Has to happen.
Yeah.
Um, and what I've also realized, like say the last trip my husband and I took, I tried to work out in the hotel
Hmm.
and I was just doing again treadmill and hand weights and all that kind of stuff and doing, what I know what to do on the mat, whatever. And I kept thinking to myself, wow, if this is what my choices were, would I have kept up with my workouts? And I don't
Ooh.
think I would have because they're
Oh,
so boring. They're so
yes.
terrible.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to work out for like 3 hours just to get a half an hour of, of mega. It's just like, no, this isn't. So I don't know what I'd be doing. Because honestly, I'm so capable now because of my workouts.
Right.
So I can go do whatever I want to. But
Yeah.
if I didn't have my workouts, I don't know.
I like
I'd
it.
probably I don't sit still very well, but I don't know.
Core strong or bust.
Yeah, exactly.
I
That's
like
it.
it. That's good. That's
Yeah.
fine. All right. We kind of answered this one because we've talked about, we've got some new plans in January for switching up the order of things for some of the classes. And then we talked about hopefully some machines coming into the
Mhm.
universe at Core Strong soon. Are there any other like innovations that come to mind or anything else in the LaGree universe that you've seen about or heard about, or I don't know, anything else that just kind of excites you about the workout that we haven't talked about?
Well, that's kind of that's what I mean about LaGree. I can't get bored with it.
Yeah.
So Sebastian already has out. He's been introducing this for the last year or two, LaGree 2.0, which I've really incorporated in my routine writing and how we teach now. And what it means is you're in moves longer, so fewer transitions. I love the concept of it because you can do a move longer, but maybe you're not doing it on the heaviest of springs. You've
Right.
lightened the spring load a little bit, so it's definitely you can stick with the duration, but it's brutal. It's by the time you've been in skating for 5 minutes or 6 minutes. It's you're like, oh my gosh. So it really changes the whole workout.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also coming out now with LaGree 3.0, which
Right.
he really hasn't released too much about that yet. So I don't know exactly what to tell you what it's going to be. But whenever something like this gets released, I take it on my mission. I can't wait to learn everything I can about it
Right.
and start implementing it as soon as I possibly can. So those are the things that keep me excited. And I still, 7 years in, not bored in the least way.
No.
Um,
No.
Tired, yeah, but not bored.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's one of those workouts. It doesn't get boring. I
No,
mean, I don't know. For me, I agree. I agree. That's why
yeah.
you're on the dean's list, Cathy, because it's not a boring work. No one
No.
that gives me a boring workout will be on the dean's list. I'll
No.
tell you that much.
Yeah, you're out.
Nope.
Sorry.
It's not happening. You're not welcome. I
Yeah.
mean, I appreciate efforts, but no.
Yeah.
Um, all right. What advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur? Or it could be someone that's wanting to venture into fitness or just starting a business
Yeah.
in general.
So I say this to anyone if I'm taking potential instructors through training. The number one thing is you really have to feel the passion.
Mm-hmm.
Without it, you won't last. You'll be bored in a week.
Yeah.
And so you have to be passionate not only about the method of what you're teaching, but about teaching it to others
Yeah.
and what it does in their life. Take your thought process a little bit deeper than just what it's going to do for you, but
Mm-hmm.
what happens for someone else when they get introduced to LaGree Fitness and they've had a good experience. It changes their life.
Yeah.
That's huge when you think about how many people we have the potential of even reaching in a world where everything feels like it's, falling apart. Have something that's solid, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's my one thing is I just think people don't do it for the money. Don't
Mm-hmm.
do it for, or just having a better body, or don't do it for anything that maybe in society, those would be things you would definitely be looking for.
Yeah.
If you can do it out of passion, it'll always be successful.
I love that. That's
So,
great. Yes. Amen. Amen to that. All right. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you were hoping I was going to ask you, or anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't talk about?
you did a great job with your questions. Just to say so, I was so impressed when you sent me the little bit about him, and I thought, huh, she's right on. This is great. I won't have any trouble answering these. I can't think of anything we've missed. I think we've talked about everything.
We did a good service to all the
Yeah.
things. Okay, so in that case, how can people find Core Strong?
Well, our website is the best place to go. It's corestrong.studio. So no .com, just .studio. On the website, you'll find everything you wanted to know about Core Strong. We've got a professionally done video on there from both a mega class and a VersaClimber class. So you can see what the studio looks like and feel what the classes feel like. Find out our schedule, all of that. So that's the best place to start.
Yep.
Once you get signed up for your first class, then you can download our app, and that makes it so easy to book classes and be involved in the studio. And right away, you'll feel like you're part of the community. It doesn't take long at all.
Nope.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Love
Everybody's there. Everybody's there is happy to be there. So you're coming into a really a fun community, and yeah.
And if you're not local to Boise, we recommend finding your nearest LaGree studio to try a workout, since I feel like Sebastian has solidified many LaGrees around the world now. So there's a good chance there could be one.
There could be one not too far. And if you still can't find one, and you would just Google LaGree.
Yeah.
But if you can't find one still, and if nothing's anywhere nearby, you can always go to LagreeFitness.com.
Yep.
Buy yourself a home. They make the micros and the minis. Buy that. They've got great apps now, so you can teach yourself at home if you're not near a studio. It's the best thing to do. And then, before long, you'll be opening your own studio because you want to have one nearby. So why not?
I see all this happening for all the people that are buying their micros. They're going to be like, I could open a whole studio of this. All right. Well, Cathy, I appreciate you. I love Core Strong. I'm so grateful. It was actually one of the things I will say, admittedly, when I was moving to Boise, the LaGree workout was one of the things on like my list of, my own non-negotiables, where I was like, what am I going to do if there's not a LaGree studio?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was very appreciative when I saw, it's so close to where I'm going to be. This is all working out. I'm meant to be in Boise because there is a Core Strong there for me. So Cathy, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the Dean's List, and I guess I'll see you in class.
You will. I can't wait.
Cool. And thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Dean's List. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to stay updated, and follow us on Instagram at official_Dean's List and YouTube at It's Official Dean's List. I'm your host, Allison Dean. Until next time.